Hi all. I think it's time to start now. It's time for the first parallel session of the Ultimo Conference 2022. Welcome to you all. The first session is about sustainability with Microsoft. Jooske de Groot will be your presenter. I will hand over the presentation to her in a minute. You can ask some questions. The presentation will take approximately 10 minutes. Then we have 5 minutes to answer your questions regarding this topic. You can send in the questions on the right of your screen. I will receive them in the back office, and then at the end we will answer those questions. So yeah, enjoy. Jooske, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. Hopefully you'll hear me all right. My name is Jooske, and within Microsoft, the Netherlands, I'm responsible for our unmanaged customer segment, which means that it's a responsibility from the smallest entrepreneurs or just an entrepreneur and or a freelancer to organizations that are a little bit bigger. And I've been with Microsoft for over 10 years now, almost 11. And I think from that perspective, one of the reasons I stayed within Microsoft for this long is the sustainability agenda that we're driving as a company. And that's something that I want to tell you a little bit more about today. So I'm going to see if I can control your slides, and hopefully, Kevin, it moves on. So our action since the beginning of our culture agenda, or sustainability agenda. So in 2009, we started with our first carbon emission reduction goal. That was quite some time ago, 13 years. But we've made steady progress. So as you can see, we were carbon neutral in 2012. We've made some other milestones, but in 2020 we realized that the planetary challenge was getting bigger, and we needed to up our ambition. So in 2020 we made significant commitments to guide our environmental sustainability work over the next decade, so the next 10 years. So when you look at this slide, you see that we have a couple of commitments for the upcoming years. In 2025, we want to operate with 100% of renewable energy. We want to protect more land than we actually use. In 2030, we want to be carbon negative, zero waste and water positive. And in 2050, we want to have reduced and removed all of our historic emissions since the start of Microsoft. So we're trying to become that company that didn't leave any footprint on the planet from this perspective. So those are a little bit highlighted. I can talk for hours about them, but highlighted ambition goals that we've set for ourselves. We realized that these ambitions are ambitious, and not every company can adhere to them. But I'll talk a little bit more about it to share our learnings and our progress moving forward. So what makes sustainability actually a challenge for most organizations? And that's the fact that there are a couple items that I can call out. First, it's the lack of standards. So you don't see that many standards that have been created globally, regionally, but also within an industry. So it's quite unclear of what are the standards that we need to adhere to as an organization. So it makes it difficult to create your own goals, report against them, if there's no clarity on these standards. The second one is that it's usually in a manual process. So I don't know how many people in this room know more about the way that your organization measures your emissions, for example. But mostly what I see within organizations is that organizations keep their emissions reporting offline in spreadsheets or in a manual document that is not auditable for any external organization to also have a view on them. So there's a very slow processes to gather all of the information that builds the bridge to siloed data. So as you probably are aware of, data is one of our most valued assets that we have in organizations at this moment. And if you capture the data right, you can do a whole lot with them. However, the data that we capture around sustainability and our emissions and the way your organization is doing, it's probably not that structured and locked in the way that you can actually create intelligence out of it. So that's another challenge that we see mostly in a lot of organizations. The fourth is the value chain transparency. So all the partners and customers that you work with, how transparent are they about their strategy and the way that they work? There's hardly any visibility and transparency in this chain. So it makes it hard for you to manage beyond your scope 1 emissions because there's no real information that can be shared amongst organizations. And then you have your capital investment trade-offs. So you need to understand how your environmental impact will affect your bottom line, your shareholder value, but also creates opportunities for business growth. And I think especially that last one, you can very much look at it from a negative perspective, but when you look at sustainability and the ambition that you set, you can actually also create business value out of it. So moving on to the next slide. We're a little bit slow. So then once you've realized what your challenges are within your organization, then there's some other stuff that you need to consider. So you see that decision making is layered and complex. It's not that one person can say, okay, this is our sustainability ambition. These are the goals and the milestones we want to drive. And with that, it's all set, right? So you need to understand your environmental impact today. That's where it starts. What is your start point? Where do you start and where do you want to go to? And the possible outcomes and rates of return of various pathways to improvement. So if you make certain changes, what will be the result? What will be the consequence? And is that then the right way to go about it? Because on this topic, essentially, there are about 100 ways you can tackle it, and not every single way will be as efficient as the other. You need to check, okay, what are then our targeted investments that we're going to make, and how does that translate to business value for us? So in order to do this and help you with this, I think technology is a way to accelerate this journey. So with all the items I've discussed before, Microsoft tries to play a role in the whole ecosystem, not only for us to reach our standards, but also to influence our entire ecosystem of customers and partners that we work with. So we invest a whole lot in building digital solutions in order to help organizations leverage those in order to become more sustainable and have a clearer view. So that's a little bit about the role that we want to play. So I want to make sure that we try to translate our experiences into learnings that you guys can learn from, and also take as an inspiration, hopefully, to help shape your sustainability agenda. So with that, we try to accelerate our shared sustainability journey. So it doesn't only start with us, but we also try to play a proactive role in your journey. I think embedding sustainability in everything you do is crucial. So that's what we're trying to do, to really start off with, okay, we set these ambitions, and how does that translate into the different things that we're doing within our organization? And if that's from an office operational perspective, what are the coffee cups we're drinking from, and how do we recycle those, up until how are our data centers fueled with energy, and what is the impact that they have on the environment? And we try to create new value with sustainability. So a collective learnings and actions in order for you to leverage those and accelerate in the journey. Then on to the next one. Just to line up some of the learnings that we've created and that I can share with you. There's lots of studies and research that we've done, but as you can imagine, moving to the cloud, migrating to the cloud reduces carbon emissions. We optimize our data centers. We have the power of scale in that sense to reduce the energy use, emissions, water use, and waste. And I think we're very much investing in the way that we shape our data centers. So when we move away from on-premise environments at customer sites, for example, that's not the most efficient use of the capacity and the energy that's used to fuel those. So migrating to the cloud, there's lots of research that I can share for those who are interested around this, and what the actual impact is on the environment by migrating to the cloud. We try to build smart building solutions, so that helps to reduce the embodied carbon, energy, and water use. So how do we go about it? Do we use machine learning, but also predictive analysis to see, okay, what can we expect and how do we anticipate on our predictions in order to make efficient use of resources. The carbon tax funds innovation and drives the right behavior. So that's what we're talking about. So our senior leadership actually has a personal incentive in order to make their bonuses and their salary, for example, on carbon tax. So every division within Microsoft pays carbon tax over their daily operations. So that's an interesting one to think about. We have hybrid work and virtual events. So I think Ultimo in this sense is the perfect example. We don't all need to come into a specific location anymore. We can have virtual events. We can work in a hybrid way. So I think it was on the news this morning that it was predicted that today was going to be a very heavy, how do you call it? Traffic on the highways because of the rain, the wind, and apparently Thursday is also the biggest traffic jam day. So they're already predicting that. So how can we make sure that hybrid work is really in our core? And it was just not the COVID situation, but we can embrace it whenever these predictions are out there. Can we adjust? Can we overcome? And can we work from home, for example, to also not sit in traffic and create lots of carbon emissions? Focus on packaging helps. I think that's what we've done with our surface line. So it was always wrapped in these beautiful shiny white boxes. When you order a surface device now, it's in recycled cardboard. So that's already a change we're making, but we're also looking at the way that we reuse plastics, for example. So I think we now have a mouse for your computer available that's made of plastics that we gathered from the ocean. So we're trying to recycle the whole thing. Surface devices are 100% recyclable, and we're also building circular data centers where we reuse all of the hardware that's in there. And then reducing the impact of our supply chain. And that requires collaboration and transparency. So for the sake of time, because I've been told I can't go over, I'm going to stop here and ask if there's anyone who has a question that I can answer before we need to move on to the next session. Hopefully this was a little bit educational for you. I can talk about this for hours, but I want to make sure that I also capture your
it's nice in time. Nice in time. There was one question about what kind of digital solutions did you invest in to be sustainable?
Yeah, there's a long list. I can share maybe after because we have a website actually where they're published. So it essentially ranges from solutions that optimize the supply chain from a predictive perspective. So if we are able to predict the sales of a retailer, for example, we can influence the way that all the products are made and we don't overproduce on certain things. You can also look at it from a solution which might not be digital, if I think about it this way, but where we're innovating on technology that cools our data center. So it's not using water, but it's actually regenerating all of this energy that we translate into cooling energy. It might be a little bit difficult, but as you see that we work a lot with lots of partners who create sustainable solutions. And essentially sustainability, in my own words, if I can maybe summarize it like that, it's efficient use of resources. So it doesn't need to be expensive. It's more about how do you get the most value out of the investment that you're making. And I think that's one, but we have a full website where there's lots of solutions, so you can maybe Google on it or Bing.
Right. All right, nice. And to top it off, if I have any sustainability questions, where can I go to on Microsoft?
Yeah, so I can list all these URLs, but maybe it's easy to find me on LinkedIn and ask your specific questions, because I also see that we're running out of time. So if you want more information or anything like that, just find me on LinkedIn and I'll make sure that I share that with you if you like.
All right, nice. Jooske, many thanks for your presentation. We need to go to the next one.
Yeah,
So
thanks,
thank
Kevin.
you, and I hope you see you all in the next session. Thank you.
Have fun today.
Bye bye.
Bye.